Calaroga Shark Media.
Hello, I'm Johnny Mac with your Daily Comedy News. I'm freezing. It's 18 degrees in the morning again. Please stop. This is your Daily Comedy News, a daily briefing on stand-up comedy, comedians, and the comedy industry. A sentence the algorithm loves for some reason. I'll keep saying it. Conan O'Brien caught up with Chris Fleming for Interview Magazine. Did you watch Chris Fleming on HBO Max? I'm curious what the quote-unquote the normies think of this. This is not, Bill Burr in front of a brick wall. This is something else entirely. I sent it to my friend Mark, and I'm like, watch Chris Fleming, and when you think it's weird, stick with it. And he wrote back to me, I'm glad you told me to stick with it because I totally would have bailed. It's weird. I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. That is currently the #1 special of the year. Chris Fleming and Conan O'Brien in Interview Magazine. Fleming said, have you seen this magazine? Usually it's like Alexander Skarsgård interviewed by Judge Judy or Fiona Apple interviewed by the Tinder swindler, but you and I actually make sense together. Conan said, this makes sense because I have a hard time imagining who I can relate to more than Mr. Fleming here. You're a ridiculous figure. I've been enamored with you for a long time, and I wish I were talking to the late illusionist Doug Henning. Conan said, I can see you took my advice. I told you long ago, don't move around so much. Fleming. O'Brien said, I want you to wear very masculine working class clothing. Fleming said, you gave me a Men's Warehouse gift certificate, and you whispered in my ear, stillness is king. Now, if you haven't watched the special, you have no idea why that is so funny. Conan, make sure all the references are accessible to all age groups. That means none of your Trader Joe's marginalia, no takes on NPR. And I insisted that you talk at length about the 1975 Red Sox and bring up Fred Lynn repeatedly, and you said, got it. And then to my surprise, I tune in and you're up to your old hijinks, you imp. Chris said, I had a manager who said, I don't know what you're talking about 90% of the time. Conan, you've established a rhythm that's completely yours. You lull people into the state where suddenly they know everything about this specific guy who's serving you a boba tea, and we're all just there with you, even though I shouldn't know what you're talking about because I've never had boba tea in my life. Funny exchange here. Conan says, just today, Judd Apatow found a clip of me from 1986 in the background at some comedy event that he's doing a documentary about. Chris said, I didn't know he did documentaries. Conan, it's a documentary about the time he stopped doing documentaries. Fun stuff there at Interview Magazine. We'll talk more about Chris Fleming in the second half. Are you following this Jim Carrey thing? Did you see this last week? There was an award show and Jim Carrey showed up, or maybe it wasn't actually Jim Carrey. Did you see this? People are like, is that Jim Carrey? It kind of looks like Jim Carrey, but yet not at all like Jim Carrey. Is Jim Carrey doing a bit? Did Jim Carrey have Botox? Did Jim Carrey have plastic surgery? Did the Illuminati replace Jim Carrey with a clone that's not that good? Nobody knows what's going on. Well, there's a new wrinkle to this that I love. Makeup artist Alexis Stone claims that it was he who appeared last week as Jim Carrey. On Instagram, Alexis posted Alexis Stone as Jim Carrey in Paris. The post included 2 photos of quote-unquote Jim Carrey at the event and 1 photo of a masked teeth and a dark wig that resembled Jim Carrey's new look. Now, the César Awards say that Jim Carrey worked on his speech in French for months and that there is no clone. In a statement, Gregory Collier, the general delegate of the César Awards, said the rumors are a non-issue. Jim Carrey's visit has been planned since this summer. From the outset, he was extremely touched by the Academy's invitation. 8 months of ongoing constructive discussions. He worked on his speech in French for months, asking me about the exact pronunciation of certain words. He came with his partner, his daughter, his grandson, and 12 close friends and family members. His longtime publicist accompanied him. His old friend Michael Gondry, who's made a film and 2 series with him, was there, and they were delighted to see each other again. For me, it's a non-issue. I just remember his generosity, his kindness, his benevolence, his elegance. I think this is hilarious. Stavros Halkias is pairing up with Manscaped. Together, they are auctioning off a hairball collected from the head of Stavros Halkias. At least I assume it's the head. Jamie Stark is the creative director at Quality Meats, a creative agency with a quirky name. Jamie Stark says we can neither confirm nor deny the sources of the hairs for making of this hairball. We're pretty sure there's 100% genuine human body hair in it, including Stavros's. We like to think of it as a hot dog-styled hairball and that you don't exactly know all the sources of the hair meats it's made up of. You've already missed out on the auction. Sorry, I didn't tell you in time. You could have had the hairball for just $510. Proceeds from the auction went to Manscaped's brand partner, the Testicular Cancer Society, supporting awareness, education, and resources for men's health. Are you in Hollywood? Why don't you head on over to the Hollywood Walk of Fame around 11:30 today, and you might see Gabriel Iglesias. I hope you see him because he's supposed to be there to get his star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. A bunch of the cast from The Office reunited at Sunday night's Actor Awards. It was Mindy Kaling, Jenna Fisher, Angela Kinsey, and Ellie Camper. Which, let me just sidebar here. When I was driving around with my wife over the weekend, I was just raving about Scrubs. Have you caught on that I like Scrubs? And how hard it is to, get everyone back together. And I said, for example, if they brought The Office back, you would get Jenna, Angela, Kevin, Creed, Oscar. They'd all do it in a second. And yet, there's no way Steve Carell would do it, and there's no way Krasinski would do it. And then my wife was like, what about Dwight Schrute? And my take is that Rainn Wilson would successfully hold out for more money and get it, and then they'd put a new lead on top. I digress. Jenna Fisher recalled the relentless schedule of The Office. She said it meant Christmas episodes and Valentine's episodes and Super Bowl episodes and sometimes filler episodes that were kind of bad. Ellie Kemper said, but it didn't matter because there was always another one right around the corner. The Actors Awards revealed the reunion was all down to Mindy Kaling. The executive producer told Variety we had reached out to her about being presenter, and she came back with the idea of, what if I did a reunion with all the women of The Office? And we were like, yeah. Within like an hour, she had texted them all, and she basically booked them all for us. Some folks are mad at Saturday Night Live for a sketch that didn't even air. Apparently, there was a cut-for-time sketch in which SNL sent up the BAFTA racial slur incident. Anyway, in the cut-for-time sketch titled Tourettes, a host of celebrities, including J.K. Rowling, Mel Gibson, Armie Hammer, Louis C.K., and Bill Cosby, claim they suffer from Tourettes, which would explain the problematic stuff they've been involved with. Tourette's Action CEO Emma McNally was not happy with this. She apparently sent an email to Deadline. This is not acceptable, she wrote. Mocking a disability is never acceptable. It will not be tolerated for any other condition, and it should not be tolerated by people with Tourette's. In the sketch, host Connor Story played Armie Hammer, saying not many people know this, but one of the most common side effects of Tourette's is cannibalism. Ashley Padilla's J.K. Rowling said that Tourette's isn't just blurting out an offensive word. It can be a years-long obsession with something like trans rights. Kenan Thompson as Bill Cosby claimed to suffer from drink Tourette's. Kanye West, played by Cam Patterson in a rare appearance, declared he has like 3 different types of Tourette's. Even Michael Che made an appearance, saying Tourette's makes us do horrible things to the white guy we work with. The sketch was sponsored by the National Workforce of Rethinking Disabilities, a.k.a. N-Word. Late Nighter reports that they had to scrap the original cold open. In the original version, it would have been the State of the Union with James Austin Johnson's Donald Trump making jokes about deflecting from the Epstein files and claiming that New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani was thirsty for him. That all got scrapped, and we got a pretty bad version of James Austin Johnson as Trump at 2 a.m. announcing the war. I used to really like James's impression. It is really drifting now, and I don't know what SNL's got to do with Trump. I don't know if James needs to just sit home for a week and tweak it, but that impression's just really drifting. Let me just take a second here to just thank so many of you. First of all, the feedback I got on the Pete Holmes interview, thank you. I got a lot of lovely notes. It seemed that people really dug it. First of all, thank you to Pete Holmes for doing it, and the people at the 800-Pound Gorilla who made that happen. But thank you. The notes on the side mean something, because otherwise I'm just a guy in the basement, basically talking into the wall, and sometimes a dog stares at me while I do it. So thank you for that. Also, people have been sending in things. I'm sitting on a few things from a production standpoint. Jay Leno had talked about his Mount Rushmore of comedy. I'm sitting on that. There's a great article about how Scrubs was able to recreate the hospital. I'll probably do that later in the week. But I'm still on Schrodinger's jury duty. I had a call again on Monday night. I have to call again Wednesday night. So I never know what my next day is going to be. So some of this stuff that I'm holding on to is just because I can't even judge my own production schedule right now. There is, in the back end, there's an episode. It's probably 4 years old and definitely has the old theme music on it of just me riffing on what at that time was somebody's list of the top 15 comedians. That was my What If I Get COVID episode that I was just going to play someday if I couldn't talk. I've never had to use it, but it's just sitting there. Knock on wood. Anyway, thank you for all the notes. And Richard sometimes sends me notes when I screw up the uploads. Richard, appreciate that. My email address is in the show notes. Always great to hear from people. Don't forget, Comedy Survivor rolls around. Oh boy, actual Survivor? I'm still picking away at episode 1 of that. First of all, it was up against Scrubs. 3 hours of Survivor, of real Survivor, is way too much, guys. Just, you can't hand in a 3-hour episode. It's just mind-numbing. I'm sitting there and I'm there's still an hour left of this? I can't. But Comedy Survivor is a lot of fun. Head to the Facebook group, Daily Comedy News Podcast Group. Vote someone off. It's starting to get down to it now. And I've already started scribbling down. I've got this idea for Comedy Survivor heroes and villains. I've got an idea for that. But when we get to the end of Comedy Survivor, I'm going to let it take a break. I don't want to endlessly do it. I think that kind of thing works best if we do it for a while, then we don't do it for a while, and then we bring it back again. But I'm kind of scribbling down a heroes and villains idea for season 2 of Comedy Survivor. Let's take a look at the ratings. Scrubs did pretty well. The debut episode pulled in 4.41 million viewers, did a 0.66 rating in the 18 to 49s. The second episode averaged 3.52 million viewers and a 0.55 in the 18 to 49s. I did see some people on the Reddit saying they didn't realize there was a second episode. After the second Scrubs, it was the premiere of Nate Bargatze's The Greatest Average American. That drew 2.38 million viewers. So we had Scrubs with 441, then second Scrubs 352, and then Nate 238, which seems like a bad number. However, it did better than The Golden Bachelor did in the same spot last fall. And you know how much buzz there was on The Golden Bachelor. And Nate's thing, giving away $67,000 is probably dirt cheap to produce. That thing might run for 15 years just because of the money of it all. Friend of the show, Jason Zinneman in the New York Times, wrote an article, 5 great specials to stream this winter. He writes, Taylor Thompson, Kevin Nealon, Chris Spencer, Isabel Hagen, and Jackie Cation deliver very different but very funny hours to get you through the cold. Let me go first. I watched a bunch of specials. Chris Fleming's is the best of the year. It's hilarious. I totally get it. If you put this on and you're like, this is not for me, I get it. Okay, something a little more traditional. Pete Holmes. I think we all have a crush on Pete Holmes right now, right? So Pete Holmes' special was really good. Jackie Cation's special on YouTube was very, very funny. I enjoyed that a lot. Cat Williams, I liked a lot. I have that probably at 2, maybe Pete at 3. Right now, it's early in the year. I'm not sure Katz was pound for pound funny, but he's an entertainer, and just the hour went by really quickly. I did not like Taylor Tomlinson's special. It just did not grab me. I just was not interested in it at all. Jason Zinneman in the New York Times says Tomlinson makes her most deeply felt points through confessional jokes, not takes, a comic who favors concision. She expands her palette in this special, offering an elaborate theatrical spoof of a Christian comedian, but also digging deep into Bible stories, finding a fresh comic take on the absolute bleakness of Noah's Ark. Jason liked Kevin Nealon. Even though he's been a successful comic for 4 decades, I did not realize how funny Kevin Nealon was until I heard him on Conan's pod. Nealon is a terrific joke writer, alert to paradox, statements of the obvious, and the silliness of language. Chris Spencer's Goat Adjacent on Hulu, and you know my take on Hulu specials. Zinneman writes, in the middle of this well-made 50-minute special with the feel of a confidently hosted Hollywood dinner party, Chris Spencer interrupts a joke to look down at a man on the front row and offer a note. That note, I'm going to need you to laugh sometime today. That's pretty funny. Isabel Hagen at the bitter end. That's on Veeps. Isabel tells dirty jokes in between playing the viola. She's a Juilliard-trained artist who uses classical music to set up punchlines. Love it. Once she gets laughs from melancholy premises like a persuasive defense of regret, Hagen is not the first comic to deliver deadpan one-liners with resting sad face, as she puts it. At first, the viola music merely helps match the respectable with the raunchy. What becomes clear is that Hagen has something more ambitious in mind. She wants to introduce Bach to comedy fans, to build a place where she can play her instrument and have that stand by itself independently of jokes. Love it. Jackie Cation's Altercation. Cation is the kind of comic who turns fury into eloquent goofiness. I thought that one was very good. And I'm going to leave you with this. I haven't talked about the war. I suspect on tomorrow's show, there'll be a lot of stuff about the war because we'll have cycled through the late night shows at least once. So tomorrow's likely going to be somewhat political. But there was a video that started circulating on Saturday, and I have played it, 15 times. It is a AI-generated music video by A Flock of Eagles and A Flock of Eagles' hit song, Iran. I will play the audio for you here. I encourage you to seek out the video version of this on Twitter, where we see President Trump in new wave Flock of Seagulls style hair singing the song Iran. It looks like an old-style MTV video. It is just amazing. I've sent it to everybody I know, and I keep playing it. So that is your comedy news for today, and we'll pick up midstream here with Iran by A Flock of Eagles.
Feel like I'm getting deja vu. This is like Iraq War number 2. Iraq War number 2. I like the look of those oil supplies. I'd be ashamed if someone invaded you. If someone invaded you. And I ran so far destroy USA. A drone appears above your head. A mower bomb comes falling down on you. Falling down on you. The fleet is moving nearer still. The Strait of Hormuz, it comes in view. The oil must flow through. And I ran so far away. The bomb I bomb them night and day, but destroy USA. A tiny hand hits a big red button. Atomic bombs come falling down on you. Mushroom clouds in view. Send out a tweet to let you know. World War III 'cause Israel told me to. All for Netanyahu. And I read so far away. Bomb bomb them night and day. And I ran so far away. Bomb bomb them night and day, but destroy USA.